Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about Pluto in Aquarius. In this first installment of this, I suppose, mini-series of videos, I'm going to just be talking about the overview of Pluto in Aquarius, specifically the transit of it from March 23rd, 2023 until June 11th, 2023. As many of you probably know, we have Pluto entering very briefly into Aquarius before it will retrograde back into Capricorn, when it will stay in Capricorn until, I believe, the end of November of 2023. At that point in time, I will come back and likely make a sign-by-sign talking for all of the zodiac signs about Pluto and Aquarius, but I'm going to wait on that for now because I actually want to experience this first few months of the transit and wait until it really gets back into that sign for good to really dive deep into that energy. But nonetheless, I wanted to make an offering about it for the first entrance that it will make here in the beginning part of 2023 from March until June. So yes, I'm very excited to be talking about this. This will be a very simple stream of consciousness. So by all means, feel free to enjoy some tea with me or whatever you like as we just talk for a little bit about what some of these changes for Pluto and Aquarius may mean. So creativity, okay? Creativity is very powerful. Pluto has been for so many years, since 2008, in the sign of Capricorn, in Saturn's sign, which is about traditional constructs, okay? About the status quo, about ways to contain and condense and confine problems or fears into, I suppose, power with Pluto. Pluto is always about power. It's the natural ruler of Scorpio. And it, as a planet, tends to indicate where someone's personal source of power is in their own natal chart, and also where someone can find their ego and find their also natural gravity or natural substance as a person. When it changes signs in the transits, it's a generational change. So we move probably from the largest sense of societal overtone whenever Pluto changes signs. So since 2008, it's been a very monetary, economic, also ancestral, and status-oriented societal overtone. As Pluto moves into Aquarius, however, it will become, I think, a lot more creative isn't even the right word, but unconventional and, for some, youthful. I've been talking around this since the time, actually, of late 2020 when we had the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. That foreshadowed the energy of Pluto in Aquarius. And since then, so really since about early 2021, the last 2 years, there has been a transition taking place, I feel, at both a very physical, material, societal level, and then also at just a more of a pure form energetic level regarding certain motivations, regarding sources of power, regarding substance and energy in life. So for everyone, for all signs, Pluto moving into Aquarius on March 23rd, automatically, I feel that we will see a condensing of some of the previous worries, some of the previous also grids or purposes or long-term movements may be placed to the side, and a new feeling, a new motivation, a new grid, a new purpose will come in for a lot of people. And this may have even been foreshadowed as far back as early 2021. So if you can understand what new goals, what new motivations, what new sort of inklings of personal self-substance has come into your life since then, you can have a leg up during this time and really start to, I suppose, mobilize your life to support some of these new motivations. So bringing that down to a slightly more mundane level, one of the most important things I'm feeling for Pluto and Aquarius, this first foreshadowing of it, this first entry point of it for these few months, is having the space to actually perceive of change and to perceive of greater morals in your life. And I've been kind of talking about this for quite a long time on this channel, but this is going to take on an entirely different connotation, this feeling of like distractions or small level repetitions being very good for some people, but also kind of like holding others back. So organization is very important, and also a sort of creative ability to create systems in your life. So I feel that people can't just plow forward in their life and think, I'm going to do everything all by myself. I'm going to just completely not have any help. Pluto in Aquarius means that we need more assistance and we need more teamwork, okay? Pluto in Capricorn was also kind of like this, but it definitely made people want to isolate a little bit more at the top of their own experience, whereas Pluto in Aquarius is going to be more of an integrative, group-oriented, team-oriented environment. So right off the bat with this transit, you may automatically notice that you have more people coming into your life, more people also available to you, or more relationships just starting to form without you even trying. Also having new people in your house, having new people connecting to areas that were once more isolated for you will be possible at the beginning of this transit. Also, there's going to be a change in greater power momentum. So what previously might have been like seen as powerful, like I suppose certain monetary systems, certain governmental systems, legal systems, that's not going away, but I do feel that there's a lot more of a shift towards like populism potentially, which can be certainly a problem. But Pluto in Aquarius to me sounds like a rise in populism. And then at a smaller level in life, so like more of a community oriented, not even community oriented, but like popularity is going to take on a new life with Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Capricorn, it didn't matter at all who was popular and who wasn't. All that mattered with Pluto and Capricorn was who had the most money, who had the most resources, who also had the most legitimacy from an ancestral status-oriented place. Pluto in Aquarius will contradict that a little bit, and it will start up a new popularity culture. So if people aren't popular, it's going to be much harder with Pluto in Aquarius. On top of this, because I think this has already kind of been coming in for quite a while, honestly, since like 2017 or 18, there will also be people who try to fake popularity, or people who try to like kind of hold spaces that are maybe not really authentic for them. So Pluto in Aquarius also, the hard part about it, what I'm understanding, is like pretending fakeness, or basically saying what other people want to hear. So knowing that you're in a group of people who favor a certain leaning, and then presenting yourself as that leaning, even if it's not authentic, just to kind of like have a calm correlation with people. There's then a blurry line between that and authenticity, or that and, lying or fakeness. I feel that the entire like construct, for example, of lying or sort of blurring reality becomes the PowerPoint for Pluto and Aquarius. And also I see a huge amount of people basically like employed to keep secrets, or employed to find secrets, like maybe a big rise in the use of like private investigators, as people kind of try to undermine each other based on the presence of honesty or not in certain situations. So the theme of honesty, I think, takes a hit, and has ever since like Pluto and Sagittarius in this greater cycle of Pluto. Whereas with like Pluto and Sagittarius and Capricorn, for example, it was more like stepping out on a limb, and more of kind of just like a liberated feeling to present in a different kind of way. Now with Pluto and Aquarius, I feel that it does become more identitarian, and it's harder, to shed certain identity connotations. And I think because of this, there's going to be a large entrance of like separatism, where people don't want to like have any identity, or where people are afraid to really assert any kind of identity because of how it splits them away from then other people. So universalism, which Pluto will eventually get to like 20 years from now in Pisces, where universalism becomes very powerful, and this kind of divisive identitarianism will then be a fad in the longer term. But this is a 20-year cycle, and 20 years is a very long time in a human life, and it's going to probably be very concerned with themes of identity. And how is that going to come about? Of course, that will likely be through social media. So social media is something that is so well poised to consolidate with Pluto and Aquarius. Also, anything relating to the digitalization of anything powerful, so currency, I suppose also like communication systems, which I mean is already here. Pluto and Aquarius there could be something really crazy like the mailing system being like moved away from and like not even being available as an option. I'm not predicting that will happen, but there could be something like that has already actually kind of happened, even though it still exists, and it's not like it's going to totally go away. But I feel that certain like more traditional ways of doing things, so writing letters, using cash money, writing checks, all of this kind of like, I suppose, older world stuff will probably really take a hit with Pluto and Aquarius, but because of how much it taking a hit, how much it takes a hit, it might also like become more popular for separatist cultures. So separatist people might like revert back to using like checks and cash money instead, and like totally getting off of like the centralized cryptocurrency, or totally getting off of the credit cards. So I see some people doing that, but that's very reactionary and it's very much a counterculture. The larger universal thing, especially embraced by like the younger generations, I think will move to embrace a life completely dependent on the electrical grid and completely dependent on also digital systems. That's where the power will move with Aquarius, but it's not just those things. I see it to be more of like a psychological shift at the collective level. So it's not about like preferring certain systems over other ones. It's kind of like getting more distance from the ancestral grid, or getting more distance from family traumas as well. So Pluto and Aquarius, one of the negative capacities for this transit is like forgetting who the ancestors were, or basically completely manufacturing an identity instead of that coming naturally. So through certain uses of like digital lives that revolve around the smartphone, lives that revolve around the computer, it is hard to explain, but it starts to dissolve more, I suppose, old-fashioned at this point, or more historical ways of connecting to one's own version of selfhood. So that means that we're looking for our identities in these smartphones instead of in the mirror, in the location that we're at, in the history books, in the anything. So I feel that one of the important offsettings for Pluto and Aquarius is spending time with the ancestors. You're very lucky. For example, if your grandparents are still living, try to listen to their stories. For example, like recording the stories of your ancestors, of your grandparents, even just your parents, is really good during this transit, because that kind of honors both things, like creating a digital record and like saving, or being able to have your own archives and histories feels important for this transit, because Pluto and Aquarius can actually destroy all of the histories of like certain people's ancestral grids. And it's not even purposeful. It's not even direct. It's literally just like, because of how much time we're spending on social media and playing video games, the stories just aren't listened to. They aren't heard. They aren't remembered. And time has passed. And all of a sudden those stories aren't available to us anymore. It's not direct. It's not like people directly coming out and preventing people from being able to understand themselves or their histories. It's much more subtle than that. And it is at the choice of the individual to do it to themselves. So this is depending on how one views the world, this is the more sinister aspect of Pluto and Aquarius, is nothing is actually being done to pretty much anyone. That's not everywhere. This is very geographic. Like, yes, there are certain areas where like war is happening, for example, where this does not apply. But in areas, for example, of quote unquote peace, this is something that people can only do to themselves. And that is very, some people take this like really crazily. Like it's so sinister. It's so like maniacal. It's so crazy. But like at the same time, One of the better things we can do with Pluto and Aquarius is to start taking personal responsibility and to start being more individually accountable, because otherwise it's not really going to matter what is done during this transit, because things just get done for people. And it's a very much more communal energy, Pluto and Aquarius. It's less individualistic. But because of that, if someone is like geared towards individualism, they can actually thrive more and have more available to them. But it comes only at the behest of someone really pushing that from within and really choosing that. So choices, Pluto and Aquarius, have very, I was going to say austere, but I'm just going to say like severe. It's very severe outcomes. Pluto and Capricorn and Sagittarius both were different here because the outcome might have all kind of just been based on more of a status quo societal element. So like somewhat predetermined outcomes or somewhat like secure feeling predicaments for people, like understanding that, okay, if I go to the university and if I get a degree, maybe there's like a job that's like a little bit better paying. And then if I don't get the degree, maybe it's just a little bit less of a good paying job. But you already see how over the last few years this has already changed. And it's like there are exceptions. So the energy has already been coming in. But it's just harder with Pluto and Aquarius to have these give-ins. Like if I do XYZ, I will get XYZ. That is going to be difficult. So like long-term planners, long-term strategists with Pluto and Aquarius, it's kind of a crapshoot, honestly. I don't like to use words like that, but that's really the only thing that comes to my mind. Not for everyone, especially if you've come in at the last bit of Pluto and Capricorn and really consolidated yourself, then you can like have that working for you for forever, pretty much. But moving forward and moving especially into like the late 20s and early 30s, okay, we want to kind of already have a foundation set by then and then allow for some of the positives of this transit, which include like great surprises and unexpected benefits, unexpected correlations, unexpected people, unexpected teams, and like-mindedness can be a great thing about this Pluto and Aquarius. Like it's going to be easier with this transit to get funding. Okay, it's going to be easier with this transit to get people on board to your cause. It's going to be easier to allow new ideas to become like powerful and not just in the mind or not just in the idea space. But because of that power, it's like consequential, right? So, I mean, just imagine all the crazy inventions that people have dreamed up in their mind but haven't come to fruition. And imagine then like also all the lawsuits or all of the liabilities that would have come with those that also haven't then come to fruition. So things like that are something I would consider with this transit. Is like, do I want the fallout from this creation? Yes or no? That's not meant to be discouraging at all, but I do see some really insane inventions with Pluto and Aquarius. Some are great, but some are just insane. Some are just literally like the most psycho, crazy, unnecessary, tangential, like wastes of time. Okay. And I don't mean to be severe. That's a little bit of a Pluto and Capricorn logic, but I'm also seeing a crisis of people by the end of this transit. So by like the late 2030s, I'm seeing people who are actually very successful with, I don't know, their like venture capital firm, or very successful with like their biotech startup, or very successful with, I don't know, a video game creation company or something. Okay, I can't speak for everyone, but there are going to be some people who are like, this has only fueled a certain like thoughtless culture, or this has only fueled like an obesity crisis, or this has only fueled people like forgetting their ancestry. And again, it's not like the people who've created these things are really to blame, because again, the individuals are consuming it. So the individuals at the end of the day shoulder a lot of that blame, but the near infinite supply of consumable time spending mechanisms is maybe not also a blameless construct in this larger societal equation. I love art, I love culture, I love music. Even gaming can be that way for some people, like gaming integrations are like not bad and can actually be very healing for some people. And I think that Pluto and Aquarius will bring that in too. So it's like things which are powerful, right? Things which are potent, having both a healing and a destructive quality. So it's about like really the balance of the individual first and foremost. But then, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some people who are like in head positions of like companies, for example, who make video games, who make like, I don't know, cannabis dispensary stuff, people who make I don't know, technologies or smartphones or computers or any of these industries that support extreme levels of addictions. Honestly, guys, I'm going to tell you a little secret. By like 2040, there are going to be the same types of campaigns targeting like video game addictions, targeting certain like media addictions as there are now for things like smoking cigarettes. Okay. Some of this stuff that is so trendy right now in society is almost the same way of like all of the people like smoking cigarettes in like the Grease series, you know, and like being like trendy in society back then. So that's going to be like really a lot for people to comprehend right now. Also in the same way that like some of the drug cultures of the 1970s were really popular, but now have huge like legal frameworks put around them. Like what one could get away with in the 70s relating to like the drug culture could now be punishable by like long sentences in prison. Okay. There will be some type of, I feel, transformation at the societal level with this transit of Pluto and Aquarius of things that right at this second that we feel like are just so accessible or so free, okay, or so consumable. Also, I'm seeing things like eye damage, okay, video games, computer screens. Oh gosh, guys, there's a lot of psychic information that comes in there, but Pluto and Aquarius will start to reveal that kind of stuff, right? Because Pluto is the revealing of the secret, hidden, poisonous, dark energy in whatever sign it's in. So again, the sign of Aquarius is about groups of people, yes, networking. It's the natural 11th house, right? But I very much associate Aquarius with the technological revolution, okay, with the digitalization of society, with the I want to call it like hygienic individualism, you know, in a similar sense that people are feeling safer or cleaner alone, or safer or cleaner in their own premises and away from other people. And it seems healing after a long like generational context of like always having to be around people, always having to like help other people. But I think that it's more disempowering at a higher zoomed out level because again, people just aren't really like cooperating so much with this. Just thinking about some other random things, and definitely a big rise in self-employment, a big rise in entrepreneurial endeavors, a big rise in venture capital, and any type of like really risky tech-based investments will be prolific during this transit. And also basically like every single person, like any person who ever like wanted to be an entrepreneur, basically trying to come in and like expose like how useless certain things are, or how like things are obsolete, therefore you need to buy their products, or how things are like not safe over here and not secure, so you need to buy their secure products. Like there's going to be this culture of like basically pointing out how flawed other things are so that, you know, the person pointing their goods can be bought instead, you know, stuff like that sort of like competitive marketing edge will be very powerful with Pluto and Aquarius. Also like online advertisements, you know, like the ads on YouTube, the ads on any social media stuff, I think will get more integrated and have more of a seamless psychological impact, though there could be a destruction of that current system because of it, I don't know, being too clunky or too based on the previous Pluto and Capricorn way. So there could be like an overhaul to online advertising, or an overhaul to global advertising campaigns as well, and the way that that's done, maybe a change in ownership with that, or a change in those types of systems. Also, just any system you can imagine can be overhauled with Pluto and Aquarius. And let's again bring this down more to the individual level, that one of the positives of this transit that I'm feeling is being able to create systems in your own life and have more time, or have more ability to focus on your own purpose or the bigger things in your life. So you can like quickly systematize, or you can quickly create well-functioning team plans or blueprints. Also interesting for architecture, interesting for any type of like also virtual architecture or creating like an architecture out of your own ideas. Something about that is really coming in psychically for me. I'm also seeing a rise of stimulants. So more of a rise in like caffeine addictions at the most harmless level, and then also like more prescription stimulants, maybe new stimulants that have never been invented before that are quote unquote safe. I also think that this is already happening though with the blue light from the devices. Like, who doesn't have insomnia these days? Comment below if you're someone who doesn't have insomnia. Okay. Also comment below if you're someone who does struggle with insomnia. Let's get these comments going and see like where that's at, because I just feel like people are so stimulated lately. And over these last, honestly, like about 10 years, there's been a huge rise in stimulation and nocturnal cultures and false light. So yeah, that will be something that I think will take on a new life with Pluto and Aquarius. And I think that certain people will be very wise to offset this transit with less stimulation and less, borrowing from the future of their own energetic reserves, borrowing with Pluto and Aquarius. Something about maybe like virtual loans or virtual borrowing is going to come in. And if it's not at a currency level, I think that this is maybe at a social level, like, going in debt to people on social media. Okay, maybe like new apps that have like a certain like barter debt system. There's something like that also perhaps coming up with Pluto and Aquarius. Also, yeah, I am seeing like new forms of barter. Okay, digital barter. Whether or not this has anything to do with loans or debt, there's going to be a very confusing, hard to keep up with complex monetary system that comes with Pluto and Aquarius. So I don't know if it's from inflation, but I just feel that like kind of like going into this transit, we have the choice like, okay, which bank do I use? Do I like write checks, or do I like use my credit card online? Like having like the traditional mail system, and at the same time also having like Amazon and deliveries and things like that, and having to be able to like navigate all of it. I think that this is going to have like a 5x multiplier, and there's going to be like all these different new like financial services, all of these new investing services, all of these new like more digitalized, therefore more replicable and more replaceable. And don't even get me started on the fraud and the people impersonating reputable businesses and making like sham storefronts or payment processing that mimics those but aren't those. And we basically definitely have to become our own personal security specialists. With Pluto and Aquarius, we've already been seeing that with the end of Pluto and Capricorn. And yes, I would say probably new legal systems that can better punish or catch cyber criminals or fraudsters. Okay. So that might not be until later in the transit, but Pluto usually does create some form of like, it can go either way, because Pluto and Capricorn showed actually more deregulation in the financial sector, but there was at least a change in, Capricorn ruling like the more status quo banking system, and then there was actually deregulation towards the end. I believe around the time of 2017, there was, private banking deregulation, and further movements towards privatization and less oversight. So maybe it could be something like more stern laws put into place, definitely for things like social media. And I would probably say that that may be difficult for, YouTubers or anybody who makes a career out of social media. I feel that there could be new regulations, but also it may only really impact very small level people, or people who are doing it in a way that it's not very legit, or it's not very concise. So it's good to get things legit in your life. It's good to get things like with the check mark right, or to get things not even just with the check mark, but with integrity. And At the same time, people who use integrity, you know, my own channel, definitely having suffered from this as well, will be targeted by impersonators because when you have that like integral brand, that makes you more, you know, like liable to be targeted because people or think that there's that trust there. So it's easier to take advantage of people. This is actually an important dialogue, though, for this transit because it's a hard one, though, because I feel that this society needs more trust, but it's hard when you have things like this and you have, for example, people's like mailboxes being raided, okay, and even people like impersonating each other, not even just in the social media space, but in real life. So like stolen identities with Pluto and Aquarius. That's going to be a big thing. I would recommend identity insurance. Okay. At least having something. And then taking measures, right, to mitigate the ways that your identity could be stolen. So honestly, you guys, going back to paying for things in cash, going back to developing relationships with the people that you pay, okay? You know, as much as you can. There's not really a way that we can do that, but, you know, not having your cards out, your credit cards or whatever, just like out, like in the drive-through line where the cameras are. I mean, it starts to get kind of like paranoid feeling too. And that will definitely happen with Pluto and Aquarius. A lot of paranoia, like, oh my God, I'm afraid my credit card's going to get stolen. I have to like hide it in my like special, you know, technology pocket, like buying like jeans. Like there are going to be entrepreneurs creating jeans with like pockets in them that have like that special protection, that some like the RFID protection or whatever. I'm seeing like RFID protection underwear and stuff. It's going to be like crazy, like how many different products come in and how many people are going to be like buying it and like wasting their money on like things that claim to be RFID but aren't even, like RFID underwear that doesn't even have anything in it, and it's like mass-produced underwear, mass-produced in like a global south country that doesn't even have a technology, but it's marketed as like RFID underwear, and people are like buying it like crazy and like putting their debit cards in there. And there's basically just going to be a lot of like really insane stuff like that, like people doing stuff that is not real, like people motivated or like stowing their cards in there, and it like never had to happen because there's not even any protection there, and it's like doing things in vain, or it's like a manic tangent of like weird security protocols and measures. Yeah, Pluto and Aquarius. I do feel that a lot of people go just wild with new technologies or new, also things relating to like AI or implants in the body that like give the body a certain like technological edge. I'm not making a comment on that in this video, but yeah, it would be an interesting transit to trust in the, I suppose, God-given systems of the body rather than some Silicon Valley entrepreneurs' ideas about what needs to be in the body. That could be an interesting choice to make during Pluto and Aquarius. It's the choice that I'll be making. And I will tell you all that a lot of the negative, tangential, insane energy of Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius can also just be, how do I explain? You have to watch your words sometimes in these formats, but a mind, okay, that has lost a lot of connection to higher force. So God complexes are very likely with Pluto and Aquarius. Delusions about what other people need to have like inside. It's very much kind of like a mad scientist kind of energy, Pluto in Aquarius. Also, we had this in 2021 and 2 with the Saturn-Uranus squares. There's been a lot of this kind of energy, and it's not all bad because I do think there's going to be a lot of discoveries and scientific progress as well. That's certainly opportune with this transit. Also, again, bringing this down to a smaller level, like anything new, okay, Pluto and Aquarius. Like Pluto and Capricorn really let the older or the more established, more conventional person or entity move forward. And I feel that Pluto and Aquarius will really ask for new faces and ask for new ideas, new concepts, and new visions too. And then about like half of those new faces, new visions, new ideas will not be viable by like halfway through the transit, but some will still be viable. So if you're someone who has like new ideas, new concepts, or wants like new things in their life, try to find out how that can be like more legitimate and how that can also be more sustainable and not just like a pipe dream, or not just careful. Try to analyze the degree to which like an idea, a concept, or an invention, the degree to which it destroys something that already exists. Okay. Also the degree to which it cancels out or makes obsolete anything, because that might be in some senses like the basis of innovation, but in other senses can also in time be seen as evil. Okay. And not just destructive, but like terrible. Okay. Like if you can imagine, also just anything that is like manufacturing will become more powerful with Pluto and Aquarius, but especially when it comes to like conceptual manufacturing. So can be very negative, can be very positive. I'm seeing incredible new solutions to really old problems, but also I'm seeing kind of like a group hysteria as well, where certain people like want to create their own I suppose like reality for certain things, which is like a popular, I think, spiritual tangent as well. But to the extent that like people undermine what their ancestors have done, or undermine like history. Okay. Also definitely like, I'm not going to say rewriting of history, but definitely some people just refusing to acknowledge things that have happened. Okay. And that sounds like a really poignant place for some Plutonian wake-up calls. Anyway, everyone, I think that that's going to conclude it for me. Kind of just a overall kind of societal general video about Pluto and Aquarius on this side of it. I will make a full video about it with a sign by sign later this year once it finishes for good in Capricorn, but it's not quite in yet, and I can't quite channel as much of it as I would like to, because it will still stand to move back into Capricorn in July. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the bell notifications, and give it a like to get it out there. This channel is on Patreon. That will be linked below if you would like to support it. I do a lot of bonus content, premium weekly forecasts, and more over there. Come check it out. And thank you so much for checking out my channel. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks for checking out this Pluto video. Bye.